You are watching Camnet TV, not just another channel, and welcome to our main news broadcast. To present it, my name is Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga. A look at the headlines. Former Mopani workers protest. Media cautioned against aiding tribal hate speech. Dora Silia. Government to roll out emergency social cash transfer to the vulnerable. And in international news, Zimbabwe's ruling party threatens to expel U.S. envoy. And in sports news, Mitchell back to work after shortest honeymoon. For the details, join me shortly after this break.
Lusaka is here. We have you all covered with just 150 kwacha. You can advertise every day from 17 hours to 18 hours. For a 30-second ad, get the benefit of selling your products and services on Lusaka. For more details, call our marketing department on +260 953 995099 +260 962 444 726 or +260 971 177 467. Email us on info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
The details. Government Chief Spokesperson Dora Silia has advised the media to avoid giving a platform to politicians instigating tribalism in the country. Ms. Silia, who is also Minister of Information and Broadcasting Services, says the media has the power to stop the tribal divisions currently happening. We have more in this report.
Government has advised media houses to stop giving a platform to individuals issuing tribal remarks. Chief Government Spokesperson and also Minister of Information and Broadcasting Services Dora Silia says if the tribalists are not given a platform, their tribal remarks wouldn't be heard. This arrived after Camnet TV wanted to find out the position of government on the tribal remarks and the division that is currently being championed among Tongas and Bemba tribes of Zambia.
That there's no room for tribalism in Zambia, and let us not give elections as an excuse for bad behavior. And I think that the media, you have a critical role. You are the gatekeepers. If a politician is encouraging tribalism, you should just ignore them and ignore that story, or even call them out that what you're doing is bad for the country. You have the power to do that. But if you, the media, continue to perpetuate these stories and continue to want politicians to talk about tribalism, it will find room in this country. So to me, I think that this is not a fight for politicians. It's a fight for Zambians. Zambians don't want tribalism, and it has nothing to do with elections. So we should not use elections for bad manners. We should not use elections for violence. We should not use elections for tribalism. That's just a bad excuse.
This is as a result of the alleged attempt by the UPND President Hakainde Hichilema to try and dethrone Chitimukulu, of which the UPND President himself denied having such plans.
We have no legal, moral desire or other intentions to remove any traditional leader in our country. Let me be specific. We in the United Party for National Development, UPND, outside or inside government, has no intention nor capacity to interfere in the selection, continued reign, or indeed removal of any traditional leadership in this country.
And now some Patriotic Front members such as Kabwe Central Member of Parliament Tutu Angulube says Bemba people will make sure UPND is decampaigned. The minister said the power to stop tribalism in this country lies in the hands of the media, for we as the media can serve Zambia by not airing those with intentions of dividing Zambia. Honorable Dora Silia said this at a press briefing held in Lusaka. Constance Mwemba reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
The Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA, on Monday night fought running battles with smugglers in Lusaka after an intercepted truck containing steel infrastructure was diverted to another location by the driver. Addressing the media in Lusaka Tuesday, ZRA Corporate Communications Manager Topsy Sikalinda explains that the truck was intercepted in Kafue and ordered to go to the Makeni Enforcement Center, but was taken to Comesa Market in an attempt to hide it, but was eventually discovered the very night. Mr. Sikalinda says the authority is equal to the task and will not allow smugglers to start attacking officers and go scot-free. The driver of the truck has since been apprehended and the ZRA officer was not injured. We have more in this report.
The Zambia Revenue Authority last night was involved in a near shootout when the driver of an interceptor truck decided to divert from going to ZRA Makeni Enforcement Center. Instead, the driver could not turn but drove to Comesa Market. The ZRA officer, who could not manage to control the truck driver, even after shots were fired, decided to retreat and call for backup after the smugglers decided to attack them. The truck that passed through Chirundu border was intercepted in Kafue for further investigation. ZRA Corporate Communications Manager Topsy Sikalinda explains that the truck was retrieved from Comesa Market late last night.
The Zambia Revenue Authority last evening fought running battles with smugglers, and the story is that in the evenings last night the authority intercepted this truck in Kafue. And after intercepting this truck, as per standard procedure, it was requested that it comes here at the Makeni Enforcement Center for further inspections. Unfortunately, when they reached the Makeni roundabout, instead of the truck turning, the truck decided to proceed going into town. For your own information, we had an officer on the truck and there was also escort behind. The driver vowed that he is not going to turn to Makeni Enforcement Center. If it means him dying, he did not care and started driving the truck at a very high speed on Kafue Road. The officer who was on the truck tried to warn the driver by firing warning shots, but unfortunately the driver did not compromise. He continued increasing the speed, and it was at this moment that the gallant officer decided to just take it on low because we were going to endanger a lot of lives on the road.
Mr. Sikalinda has also warned all the smugglers, adding that the authority is equal to the task and will continue to enforce the law without fear.
This behavior will not be tolerated. As we speak right now, the driver has since been arrested. He's in police custody, and we assure you that more arrests are coming. Our partners, the Zambia police, are working tirelessly to ensure that we bring all the culprits to book. We are not going to allow such a situation where smugglers even have the audacity to attack enforcement officers. This will not be allowed. Therefore, we'll ensure that we are coming after you. We will bring all of you to book. More arrests will definitely be made, and such behavior will not be tolerated. When the Commissioner General, Mr. Kingsley Chanda, said that we will now seize the vessel, seize the goods, he was not joking. It's not a joke. And we are serious about this. Therefore, to all the smugglers out there, we are coming after you, and we'll make sure that we seize the vessel, seize the goods. Apart from doing that, we'll also come after you and prosecute you. This behavior will not be tolerated by the authority. Therefore, to all the smugglers out there, you have started something you are not going to finish. We are coming after you.
The intercepted truck contained goods known as steel infrastructure or steel parts worth thousands of kwacha. The truck is at ZRA Enforcement Center. The driver was arrested and the ZRA officer was uninjured. Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Economic Association of Zambia says there is need for Zambians to be more proactive so as to enable to help government alleviate poverty and foster national development. Speaking when he featured on Camnet TV program dubbed National Matters, EAZ President Lubinda Habazoka says Zambians need to be more patriotic and take on entrepreneurship ventures unlike waiting on white-collar jobs. Mr. Habazoka says white-collar jobs should only be stepping stones to creating capital needed to venture into entrepreneurship. He says Zambia has so many natural resources that should be taken advantage of by its inhabitants and make the most out of it.
I think the culture that we have cultivated, first one, I know a lot of people will say it's not correct. We have developed this concept of trying to blame anything that happens in your life bad. You blame it on your parents, you blame it on your neighbors, you blame it on government and everything. And if it's government, it's even worse. Boma Yanganepo syndrome is too much. But what we do not realize is that what is government? A government is a reflection of society. That is one. Two, a government is there to create an environment for us to develop. Meaning, businesses, jobs are supposed to be created by us citizens. But for us to create jobs, we need to do entrepreneurship. Now, the mistake that we are making as Zambians is say government should give capital to do business. No, government is supposed to collect taxes from us and go and do schools, hospitals, roads, and everything. So when government goes to borrow money somewhere to come and do roads, it means as citizens we have failed to generate money, to generate income that is enough to pay taxes to go and do these roads.
Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo says government recognizes human trafficking as an issue that requires urgent attention. He says government is committed to making efforts towards the elimination of human trafficking, as has been evidenced by the progressive domestication of the relevant international instruments. Mr. Kampyongo says Zambia is a source and transit country through which traffickers transport their victims en route to other destinations in the region and other parts of the world. The minister says the launch of the updated National Action Plan on Trafficking and Mixed Irregular Migration covering 2018 to 2021 will help scale up the fight against human trafficking. Meanwhile, Zambia Law Development Agency Chairperson Roida Kauma notes with sadness that despite the criminalization of human trafficking in the Anti-Human Trafficking Act of 20 years imprisonment, Zambia is a source, transit and destination country for victims of trafficking. The duo was speaking during a video dissemination meeting on the review of the Anti-Human Trafficking Act on Tuesday.
Human trafficking really is a global crime with telling effects on humanity as well as the economies of nations. It affects men, women, and children of varying nationalities who are stripped of their basic human rights by being trafficked in large numbers across continents. I wish to state that by virtue of being human, we all have human rights. And in our country, these rights are enshrined in our constitution. And when a person is trafficked, there is a grave violation of the rights that are enshrined in the constitution. When you look at the relevant provisions, you see that we have a right to life, a right to liberty, the right not to be subjected to slavery, servitude, forced labor, or bonded labor, the right not to be subjected to torture and or cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment or punishment, as well as the right to freedom of movement. When you look at statistics, you'll find that human trafficking is a highly lucrative business to organized criminal syndicates with profits of over $32 billion a year. That is huge. And this makes it the third most profitable international criminal activity, only surpassed by drug trafficking and the firearms trade.
Former Law Association of Zambia President Linda Kasonde has urged local government minister Charles Banda to reverse his decision to suspend the functions of Kitwe and Lusaka councils. In a statement availed to Camnet TV, Ms. Kasonde says reversing the suspension will ensure his actions do not continue to run contrary to the requirements of the Constitution. Ms. Kasonde notes that Article 56 and 57 of the Local Government Act, which the minister acted upon, are direct conflicts with provisions contained in the Constitution. Ms. Kasonde has to this effect called for the review of the provisions in the Local Government Act, among other legislation that directly departs from the requirements of the Constitution. On Monday, the 27th of July, Local Government Minister Charles Banda suspended Kitwe and Lusaka City Councils for irregularities relating to land. On that note, we take our first set of commercials. Do not go away, as we have more interesting stories lined up for you.
I have used Oracle Pure Glycerin for 2 years now. It has really worked for me. It has cleared all the black spots on my face. It has restored my skin beauty. It also smoothens the skin. Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for perfect skin. If it's not Oracle Glycerin, then it's not Pure Glycerin.
Stay home, stay safe. Times have changed. With the advent of the coronavirus, Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company would like to advise its esteemed customers to avoid visiting crowded places. You don't have to move to pay your water bill. You can do it in the convenience of your home. You can pay your water bills through Zanaco Zapit, Stanbic Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and FNB. You can also use Airtel, MTN, and Zamtel Kwacha mobile money transfer services. For any inquiries to report a fault, please contact our customer service on +260 211 251 571, +260 975 618 618, and toll-free line 5957, Zamtel only. You can also simply email customerservice@lwsc.com. This public announcement is brought to you by the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company. Water is life. Sanitation is health.
You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. We continue with the news. Mufulira District Commissioner Mike Manda has assured former Mopani employees that government will ensure Mopani copper mines clears their arrears. The workers, who have been unemployed for some time now, stormed the DC's office on Tuesday to protest their unpaid arrears. More in this report.
August 2019, about 1,500 workers engaged by various contractors at Mopani copper mines lost their jobs following the mining giant's decision not to renew all contracts for its major contractors. Devastating as it was, these miners kept on requesting to be assisted as they called on His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Edgar Chagwalungu, to look into this matter. 27th of July 2020, the former employees for the contractors that had their contracts terminated by Mopani protested at the DC office. Mufulira District Commissioner Mike Manda took it upon himself to demand the money being owed to these former workers is released, as they were laid off without payments.
Whatever preparations are there to pay these people in installments, I'm demanding that you stop it. Cancel. Next time we want you to call them with an invitation to come and get employed. This issue of ex-glacier is too much. We know that Mopani is not a small institution. The number of people that we are talking about are very few. We know that Kuriava are eligible and those which are not eligible. Very Pileni Mpia Shonse in full, knowing that this issue will have problems. These are future leaders. The verification program today, I'm making a demand that first thing tomorrow morning, therefore I pocket a report before you pay anyone. My Lord Chair Mumpe report confirming that abantu bonse abali eligible to be paid, they are there. Confirm with me that ama banking details yonse they are done. Confirm with me that whatever is due to them will be paid in full.
Mopani management has since last year failed to settle arrears for these workers. The suffering of these former miners laid off without receiving pay cannot be overemphasized, as the harsh Zambian economy can give you a clue. However, it is believed Mopani management has decided to put the blame on the bank for the delayment in paying off these workers. Constance Mwemba reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
The United Party for National Development, UPND Deputy National Youth Chairman, has warned public officials against disadvantaging opposition political parties to freely participate in ward elections in Limulunga. Gilbert Liswaniso says it has been observed that there has been biasness among state officials who are conducting ward elections in Limulunga. Mr. Liswaniso says the partisan approach to disadvantage others will not be tolerated. Mr. Liswaniso told Camnet TV News that ordinary citizens that are wearing red COVID-19 masks are being threatened by police and ECZ, that they will not be allowed to vote even though the masks are not marked with any political party symbol. In view of the above, the Deputy National Youth Chairman says he will hold individual police or ECZ officers to account for their unacceptable conduct at personal level.
We have observed the biased attitude of the state officials that are conducting ward election in Limulunga, and we will not allow to be disadvantaged by their pattern approach to very important national matters. Ordinary citizens that are wearing red COVID masks or green are being threatened by the police and ECZ that they will not be allowed to vote, even though the masks are not marked with any political symbol. This is totally unacceptable and meant to scare our voters away from the polling stations. In a view the above, we will hold individual police or ECZ officers to account for this corrupt action at a personal level. We will no longer accept the usual excuse of hiding under the institution to cover up the impunity of either Zambian police or ECZ. We will deal with them in their own personal capacities because their illegal activities are not supported by the law.
A government says the economic impacts of COVID-19 are uncertain, hence the need for partners to come on board and help the vulnerable in society. Community Development Minister Kampamba Mulenga Chewe says government will start giving the emergency social cash transfer of 400 kwacha to vulnerable people for a period of 6 months. Mrs. Chewe says this initiative, which is being done in partnership with UN, is as a result of the negative effects of COVID-19. The minister says the emergency social cash transfer will target those already on the platform and the new ones in Dola, Chilanga, Chingola, and other areas.
Implement emergency support targeted at identified households directly and indirectly affected in order to protect livelihoods, strengthen pandemic control, and advert negative coping strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 emergency cash transfer is targeting beneficiaries who are on the regular social cash transfer program and other vulnerable groups most affected by the pandemic. Eligible households include those with a severely disabled member, chronically ill member on palliative care, headed by a single woman, taking care of 3 or more children, headed by a child, an elderly member, and of course those in the informal sector household adversely are impacted and are food insecure. The intervention will be implemented starting with the following districts: Ndola, Livingstone, Chililabombwe, Kitwe, Kabwe, Chirundu, Kafue, Lusaka, Nakonde, Chilanga, Chipata, Mansa, Mungu, Solwezi, Chingola, Kasama, and Mufulira. Ladies and gentlemen, the emergency support in form of cash transfers and food packs is not a regular social cash program, but a temporary social safety net that has been introduced to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on vulnerable households. A transfer value of 400 kwacha per month shall be given to the targeted households to enable them buy nutritious foods and other basic essentials. The COVID-19 emergency cash transfer support will be given for a period of 6 months as outlined in the government multi-sectorial emergency response plan.
Cerebral Palsy Learners Platform Zambia coordinator Sharon Muyambango has charged that government's failure to adopt inclusive learning platforms for persons with disabilities is an act of negligence. Speaking in Lusaka Tuesday, Ms. Muyambango explains that government has not placed priority on persons with disabilities in the education sector. The organization's coordinator has also noted with concern that the Ministry of General Education has not included them on the education channel that was launched in April this year. Ms. Muyambango has since called on government and development partners to adopt an inclusive education strategy during the COVID-19 pandemic.
There is no support program to ensure continued learning to learners with disability, especially CP. Therefore, we rely behind the call by UNESCO and Global Action on Disability to ensure that all learners with disability continue to receive quality education. This requires urgent actions that consider their specific needs for accessible, adapted, and individualized learning plans. Blended approaches, combining low-tech or no-tech solutions, including integrating remedial classes, can better support those who have been excluded from home-based learning and ensure that social and emotional needs are met. The exclusion of learners with special education must be treated as denial of rights to education and an act of grave negligence by the government and partners. Therefore, we request for the following in order to level the educational grounds. 1. A creation of a multi-stakeholders special education working group for the COVID-19 response led by the Ministry of General Education. 2. To convene an emergency meeting to come up with COVID-19 special education packages that will enable and ensure continuous learning during the pandemic. 3. A provision of the strong support to families, educators, and curriculum developers that will enable and allow learners with special needs to adjust to the new normal.
The National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia has commended the Teaching Service Commission in the manner in which it has carried out the National Teachers Replacement. NUPE's General Secretary Nelson Mwale says despite many divergent views from various stakeholders who have been alleging the involvement of corruption in the process, Mr. Mwale feels the procedure was transparently done. Mr. Mwale, however, adds that he hopes the manner in which the replacement was done was targeting the needy areas.
National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia, NUPES, we want to commend the Teaching Service Commission in the manner in which a replacement of teachers is being done. That is the employment of new teachers which is being done through replacements. A number of stakeholders possibly have expressed different views, where others have even said, no, we suspect there is corruption going on at the Teaching Service Commission. As a union that is involved in all activities that the Teaching Service Commission has been undertaking, we are saying everything has been done transparently, and the Teaching Service Commission has not done anything without the involvement of the unions. And so I must emphasize that the Commission has done a commendable work, and this commendable work has been done transparently, contrary to comrades who are possibly saying the Commission is corrupting the manner teachers have been recruited. Possibly all we need to emphasize is that, like we've always said it, can the replacements be done in such a way that the concentration is on the needy areas, because it will not help to have one school with 8 teachers of English and 1 teacher of mathematics, a school of the size of Kabulonga Diozi.
Meanwhile, the National Union of Private and Public Educators of Zambia, NUPE's General Secretary, has called on the parents not to panic about COVID-19 affecting the learners, but trust the Ministry of Health. Mr. Mwale, who reacted to many calls by parents to have schools closed, says the Ministry of Health is a responsible ministry and would not risk the learners. He says when it's appropriate, the government will make the announcement.
Alleged presence of COVID-19 cases in various schools, of course, there's been no confirmation from the Minister of Health working in conjunction with the Minister of General Education. But all we need to say is that whatever we need to do must be done with the guidance of the Minister of Health. If the Minister of Health find it, normal that these learners must be in schools and that they are satisfied with the measures that school administrations have put in place, I think we cannot force matters, and force matters that the schools should be closed again. Remember, we must strike a balance between prevention of COVID and the smooth running of the nation. Remember, we have been preaching the new normal, including in certain countries, both in Africa and outside Africa. I think they are going for the new normal. But should cases escalate in schools, I think the Minister of Health will be responsible enough to advise the Minister of General Education that the schools should be shut. At the moment, there has been no rampant escalation of COVID-19 cases in the schools, according to the Ministry of Health report.
The Ministry of Health has called for behavior change in the manner COVID-19 is being handled among Zambian citizens. Health Permanent Secretary Kennedy Malama says it's high time Zambians handle this virus with the seriousness it deserves. In the last 24 hours, Zambia has recorded 450 COVID-19 positive cases. This is the second highest number of daily cases since the outbreak.
July is the 7th month since the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global health pandemic. Lives have started getting back to normal while living the new normal. Schools are slowly opening, beginning with examination classes. Hospitals are operating. Some sectors of the economy have opened up, such as small businesses, despite bars and nightclubs remaining closed. People seem to be going about their daily businesses while living with the new normal. However, COVID-19 cases are on the rise in Zambia as each day that passes the country records huge numbers of COVID-19 positive tests. 28th of July 2020, Zambia has recorded 450 new cases from 2,542 tests done, with 2 brought in dead in the last 24 hours. The Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary Dr. Kennedy Malama revealed 11 health workers are among the 450 positive tests that were done in the last 24 hours.
Continue emphasizing what we are seeing today, for instance, in social places where there is non-adherence to masking, physical distancing, and no hand washing at all, is a recipe to the increased cases we continue to see as a country. In the markets, you notice today, you go to the market, that there is general non-adherence to mask use, physical distancing, and no hand hygiene facilities. As a country, we need to say enough is enough. We cannot continue on this trajectory. Let's make our markets safer places. Let's ensure that our markets follow in masking up, ensuring physical distancing, and ensure that hand hygiene is amplified. In our learning institutions, we are all aware that the examination classes are in session at the moment. We need to advocate and ensure that our learners are masking up all the time, and they also adhere to physical distancing, because this is what is going to protect them and protect their future. To our communities in the country, there is no substitute to community sensitization. There is no substitute to social behavior change, which is going to catalyze the curtailing of COVID-19 transmission. As part of our strategy to stem the COVID-19, we continue to sensitize the communities through various platforms. This is not only for the Ministry of Health, not only for the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting Services, and government in general alone. All players should be joined: the private sector, civil society, non-government organizations, our political leadership, traditional leadership, religious leadership, academia, research institutions, the media, and indeed members of the public. As a collective, we can make a significant change and enhance behavior change communication to prevent further spread of COVID-19.
The Permanent Secretary added 27 people were on oxygen and 2 were in critical condition. The message remains the same: COVID-19 is real. Follow health guidelines. Constance Mwemba reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Still on COVID-19 related stories, a businessman of Kitwe's Chisokone market has questioned government's efforts in ensuring that people comply with the health guidelines at Copperbelt's Kitwe town. The businessman, only identified as Musonda, has observed high levels of non-compliance to COVID-19 protective measures in the township, including bus operators. Upon being contacted for a comment, Kitwe's secretary to the mayor told this reporter that no comment will be issued due to the mayor, Christopher Ngombe's suspension.
Despite various calls for mandatory adherence to COVID-19 measures as guided by the head of state, President Edgar Lungu, some sections of society are still not taking these calls seriously. Previously, some traders in Lusaka were calling on the local authorities to enforce the laid-down measures put in place by the Ministry of Health as they observed low compliance levels by many other citizens. And Kitwe is not an exception. It has been reported that majority citizens believed COVID-19 did not exist, according to a survey carried out through mere interactions with this reporter. The observation was further proven by a Kitwe businessman who fears for the lives of the ignorant residents. The businessman, who does tailoring for a living at Kitwe's Chisokone market, says many people who enter the marketplace, including bus operators, do not adhere to the COVID-19 guidelines, hence exposing the nation more to the coronavirus pandemic. Reporting for Camnet Television in Lusaka, Zambia, Mwinga.
We take another set of commercials. Do stay tuned as we have international and sports news.
To create a positive difference in people's lives, one must first understand the way people live. At Savenda, we're here for our community, our partners, and our future, as a nation and as a continent.
Back in 1997, we decided we were going to create this family journey into a bigger opportunity, and created a business called Savenda, which meant save nations to develop Africa.
It's always important to give back to the people. The government cannot do everything, but as business entities, we'll be able to reach a lot of people.
From our humble beginnings in the telecoms and mining sectors to our work in energy and development projects, we know how important it is to be true to our roots.
Our services have to be diversified so that we don't depend on one income stream. Back in the village, I was growing up hunting and doing everything that a village boy would like to do. When you're hunting, you don't depend on one trap, for example. You have to have many traps. So those survival skills brought into the business created opportunities that we learned from a young age that you can't survive with just one product. Savenda Group involves Savenda Management, which is a consulting, Savenda Express, which is a corporate branding company, Savenda Electric, which is a manufacturer of energy-saving bulbs, Savenda General Insurance, which is a general insurance company, Savenda Fresh Produce, Cyber Africa, which is a center for just dealing with cyber security.
Now, Savenda is combining local knowledge with international expertise. It's time to be a part of Zambia's rising success and Africa's exciting future.
We are a gateway into Africa, and now we are praying with global companies who are coming to Zambia for opportunities and to look for companies that are homegrown, and we are proud to be one of those.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. In international news, Zimbabwe's ruling ZANU-PF party has accused the U.S. Embassy of sponsoring Friday's planned anti-government protest and has threatened to expel its ambassador. Party spokesperson Patrick Chinamasa says the protests intended to condemn corruption in government were an attempt to overthrow the government and suggested they could be met with force. He accused the U.S. Ambassador Brian Nicholas of acting as a thug. It is a sign of deteriorating relations between the two countries. The U.S. maintains targeted economic sanctions against Zimbabwe over what he says is poor human rights record. The U.S. Embassy has previously rejected allegations that it is trying to destabilize the country. We now move on to sports news. The Chipolopolo coach Mitchell says he has had the shortest honeymoon after signing his contract on Friday last week. Featuring on the national broadcaster, the dressing room program, Mitchell says his technical bench is having sleepless nights to ensure that the Chipolopolo reclaims its place among the elite of the African game. The Serb says he had patiently waited for his contract to be sealed as he had a clear plan on where he wanted to take Zambian football. Mitchell says he is aware that the Confederation of African Football, CAF, may allow back-to-back African Cup of Nations qualifiers in November, therefore pushing his side to be ready by then despite the COVID-19 crisis. Mitchell says he was driven with the wide pool of talent in Zambia that he hopes to turn into match winners. He says he has looked at 495 players of Zambian origin, both in Zambia and beyond. Mitchell says it is not his DNA to complain when things do not go his way. That sports item brings us to the end of the main news bulletin. But before we go, a look at the headlines once again. Former Mopani workers protest. Media cautioned against aiding tribal hate speech, Doris Ilia. Government to roll out emergency social cash transfer to the vulnerable. In international news, Zimbabwe's ruling party threatens to expel U.S. envoy. And in sports news, Mitchell back to work after shortest honeymoon. The Camnet World News verse of the day is coming from the book of Proverbs 18 verse 10, and it reads, "The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and are saved." You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. I have been your anchor, Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga. God bless.